Clefairy, one of the cute little dudes added in Generation 1, and apparently it's an alien? As I've been making videos for Alien Week here on the channel, I've mentioned that I don't really count it as an alien Pokemon. In fact, I also said the same thing back in that video about Clefairy specifically. Basically, the point is that in the video games there are no Pokedex entries that mention it originating from space, and they mostly treat it like an actual fairy. It just has a fascination with the moon. And that's because in Japanese mythology there's a connection between rabbits and the moon based on interpretations of the shapes on the moon's craters. That's why in the original Pokemon games, the Moonstone was used to evolve several rabbit-like Pokemon, or at least make the evolutions a little more rabbit-like. It's more of a mythological connection that's actually pretty cool, and it fits for Clefairy specifically because it's so rare. Anyway, over in the anime, that's where we first saw the idea of Clefairy being an actual alien. In the episode Clefairy Tales, it just starts right off with a big old spaceship crash landing in the forest and a bunch of Clefairy come out of it. Yeah, alright. Continuing on, we catch up with Ash, Brock, and Misty as they meet a Clefairy, and while it distracts them, their stuff is gone missing. And the same thing happens to everyone else in the town. Obviously, the Clefairy are the culprits behind the thievery, but the weird character of the day proposes that it's aliens. But why not both? Anyway, Team Rocket shows up with one of their most elaborate schemes where they dress as aliens and steal Pikachu for a few minutes in their flying saucer. A really weird way of going about things, and it's honestly pretty hilarious to see these kinds of alien designs in Pokemon media, like the traditional tall gray alien design. But man, I gotta respect the hustle. In all the commotion, another Clefairy shows up and steals Pikachu once again. The crew, joined by Jigglypuff, pursue them underground. Also, what the heck is going on in the sewers of a city? There is a lot here that just should not be here. Though once they make it underground, they find the spaceship. So now the episode all comes together, explaining that all the Clefairy are stealing everything they can to repair their ship. And like, oh my gosh, that is kind of insane. It's a pretty fun watch, but it is 100% a certified Pokemon anime moment. It could only happen here. This is some of the most sentience we've seen in a single species of Pokemon like ever. Sure, they're still funny little goofballs that can only say their name, and they're using a bunch of random stuff to fix their spaceship, but the fact that they were apparently able to figure out space travel sets them pretty far above possibly even Mewtwo. Really, the point of this episode was to include Jigglypuff to set up these two pink Pokemon against each other, as when they head inside the ship and find Pikachu, which is being held hostage as a power source, Jigglypuff just double slaps every single Clefairy in the way. They did not stand a chance. It even goes to the main control room to face off against the captain, the one with the little flower on its head. And here we see the reason Jigglypuff had beef with them in the first place. They stole its microphone to use as a control stick. Though that ends up coming loose, it makes for quite the wacky episode climax as the rocket begins to take off and everyone has to get out of the ship before it leaves the atmosphere. And like, I can't actually hate it because this is exactly the kind of goofy shenanigans I would expect. It's a fun time. Though I do find it interesting that there isn't really some big battle at the end. Ash barely even interacts with the Clefairy, instead having Bulbasaur help them get off the ship and land on a roof just in time. Again, I guess you could say the big battle was already between Jigglypuff and Clefairy here. But the funniest thing I think is that while they bid farewell to the Clefairy, as they seemingly return to space, the ship actually crashes somewhere else and they just stay there. Smart enough to make it to Earth, but not smart enough to leave it. So for the most part, that's the episode. I honestly don't have a whole lot of analysis for it because I genuinely think there isn't a whole lot here, just the usual comedy of the original series. When it comes to Clefairy being aliens, I do have to acknowledge the evidence is pretty cut and dry for the anime canon at the very least. But when it comes to the video games, I feel that leaning more into the fairy aspect works better. Though the impact this episode has had on Clefairy since then can't be ignored. I believe the one time we see this idea referenced in the video games is when Team Galactic kidnaps a Clefairy, claiming there are rumors that it came from space. But that's about it. As someone who typically deals with the video game canons first and foremost, I don't really mention Clefairy being an alien all that much. Again, mostly because that evidence is only seen in the anime. And we also gotta keep in mind that this is also the continuity where Santa Claus exists and has a bunch of Jinx as elves. Sure, the anime and video games can cross over and reference each other, but until they add a new Pokédex entry that serves as a retcon, I'll go ahead and say that Clefairy is not an alien. But yeah, if we're talking about the anime canon, go right ahead, it's actually pretty funny. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you have any other points you'd like to mention. I don't hate Clefairy at all, it's such a great design for a funny little guy, and sometimes I wonder what things would be like if they went through with making this the mascot for the whole franchise. Oh, also let me know what you think about this honestly kind of insane episode. But for now, I think that about wraps up Alien Week here on the channel, so let's pack away the file until next year. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, especially the great Gators. DeAndre, GigaWiiU64, Claude Singh, Waterliumiz, Mazhar Siddiqui, Cosmo Zero, Justin Dows, Mr. Saturn, Rainfrux, Cheez-It62, Swiss Cheese Shiny Hunter, Michael Snyder, Lockadox, Gallantry, GatorKid509, TF, Cheeseburger Lasers, Mathaclog947, No Man Nobi, Pastel Blood, Taijirai, Justin R, Phantom, and Quago. If you would like to support so your name here gets some access to emotes for comments, live streams, and sometimes early videos, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter as well for more memes. Anyway, this is GatorX, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later.
Poke trainers, prepare yourselves.
What Pokemon is that?
Your friends cannot help you.
No available data.
Your Pokédex cannot help you.
Pokemon unknown.
Are you strong enough?
Bring back my Pikachu!
Your challenge awaits this weekend with 2 all-new Pokemon episodes only on Kids WB.